Ladies and gentlemen, here's the truth they don't want you to know. You are never more powerful than when you are asleep, not awake, not meditating, not manifesting asleep. Because when you sleep, your conscious mind finally shuts up, and the infinite intelligence that governs every star, every ocean, every blade of grass can finally reach you without interference. This is why I say stop trying so hard during the day. Stop the vision boards. Stop the forced gratitude. Stop the exhausting mental gymnastics. Instead, learn to speak one perfect word before bed, hand it over to the divine, and let the law do what the law does. I have seen fortunes appear this way. I have seen debts dissolve overnight. And I'm about to teach you how to invoke unlimited wealth while you do absolutely nothing but rest. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Florence, that can't be right. I've been taught my whole life that wealth requires hard work, sacrifice, endless effort. I've been told that if I'm not hustling, I'm falling behind. And let me tell you something, that's exactly the lie that's keeping you poor. That belief, that constant striving, that refusal to rest in faith, that is the very thing blocking your good. You see, most people have been programmed to believe that wealth is scarce, that it must be fought for, earned through blood and sweat. But I'm here to tell you a different truth. A truth that has been hidden from you. A truth that the ancient mystics knew, and that I have proven time and time again in my own life, and in the lives of thousands of people I have worked with. Wealth is not scarce. Wealth is infinite. And you don't access it through effort. You access it through alignment. Let me explain what I mean by alignment. When you are aligned with divine law, when your consciousness is tuned to the frequency of abundance, wealth flows to you as naturally as water flows downhill. You don't have to force it. You don't have to manipulate circumstances. You don't have to network or scheme or beg. You simply speak your word with authority. You surrender the outcome to infinite intelligence. And you rest in faith while the law does its perfect work. But here's where most people go wrong. They spend their waking hours trying to control every detail of their manifestation. They worry about the how. They obsess over the when. They doubt whether it's really going to happen. And all of that mental activity, all of that anxious thinking creates resistance. It blocks the very thing they're trying to attract. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, they take all of that worry and fear with them into sleep. They lie in bed at night, replaying their failures, counting their debts, imagining worst-case scenarios. And for 8 hours straight, while their subconscious mind is wide open and receptive, they impress it with poverty, lack, and limitation. Then they wake up the next morning and wonder why their circumstances never change. Do you see the problem? The very time when you are most powerful, when your conscious mind is out of the way, and your subconscious can receive divine instruction. That's when most people do the most damage to themselves. They turn their sleep into a workshop of worry instead of a workshop of wealth. But tonight, that changes for you. Tonight, you're going to learn how to use sleep the way it was meant to be used, as a sacred portal for manifestation, as a direct line to infinite intelligence, as the most powerful 8 hours of your entire day. Now, before I teach you the exact method, I need you to understand something about the nature of your mind. You have two minds operating within you, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the one you're aware of right now. It's the one that thinks, analyzes, plans, worries. It's logical, rational, and extremely limited. It can only process what it sees in front of it. It judges by appearances. It says things like, I don't see any money coming, therefore I am poor. But the subconscious mind is entirely different. The subconscious mind is unlimited. It's connected to infinite intelligence, to the creative power of the universe itself. It doesn't judge by appearances. It creates appearances based on whatever you impress upon it. The subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It only knows what you consistently feed it through your thoughts, your words, and especially your feelings. And here's the key that most people miss. The subconscious mind is most receptive right before you fall asleep. In that twilight state between waking and sleeping, your conscious mind begins to fade. Your defenses drop, and your subconscious becomes like soft clay, ready to be molded by whatever thought or word or feeling you give it in that moment. This is why your bedtime routine is the most important part of your entire day. Not your morning routine, not your afternoon productivity, your bedtime routine. Because whatever you impress upon your subconscious, in those final moments before sleep becomes the blueprint that your subconscious works from all night long. Think of it this way. Your subconscious is like a faithful servant. It doesn't question. It doesn't argue. It doesn't judge. It simply takes whatever instruction you give it and says, "Yes, master. I will create that for you." If you go to bed thinking, "I'm so broke. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills," your subconscious says, "Understood. More bills, more lack, more struggle. I will create that." If you go to bed feeling resentful towards someone, your subconscious says, "Understood. More resentment, more conflict, more injustice. I will create that." But if you go to bed speaking a word of wealth, feeling the feeling of abundance, trusting that infinite supply is yours by divine right, your subconscious says, "Understood. Wealth, abundance, overflow. I will create that." And then while you sleep peacefully, your subconscious goes to work. It begins rearranging circumstances. It begins attracting opportunities. It begins dissolving obstacles. It begins moving people and events into perfect alignment to bring your word into manifestation. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. You don't have to figure out the details. You simply speak your word with authority and let the law do what the law does. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is metaphysical law as reliable as the law of gravity, and it works whether you believe in it or not. Now, let me tell you a story that will illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. Several years ago, a woman came to me in absolute despair. She was an artist, a talented painter, but her work wasn't selling. She had poured her heart and soul into her art. But month after month, nothing sold. She was drowning in debt. Her rent was overdue. Creditors were calling every day. She was on the verge of losing everything. When she sat down across from me, I could see the fear radiating from her. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were red from crying. She said to me, "Florence, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. I've lowered my prices. I've gone to every gallery. I've put my work online. Nothing works. I think I'm going to have to give up my art and get a regular job just to survive. But even that terrifies me because I don't know who will hire me. I feel like I'm cursed." I looked at her and I said, "You're not cursed, but you are creating your own poverty, and you're doing it every single night." She looked confused. So I asked her a simple question. I said, "Tell me, what do you think about in the moments before you fall asleep?" She paused, then said quietly, "I think about how I'm going to lose everything. I think about being homeless. I imagine the worst things that could happen. I can't help it. That's just what comes into my mind." And I said, "Exactly. And that's why you're broke. You're spending 8 hours every single night impressing poverty and fear into your subconscious mind. You're literally programming yourself for failure while you sleep, and then you wake up and wonder why your circumstances never change." She looked at me with wide eyes and said, "So, what do I do?" I said, "Starting tonight, you're going to do something completely different. Right before you go to sleep, you're going to speak a command. Not a wish, not a hope, not a prayer, a command. You're going to say these exact words out loud. Infinite supply now pours into my life. I am a channel for divine wealth. My perfect customers are now drawn to my work. I sleep in peace knowing my word is law. She looked skeptical. She said, "That's it. I just say some words," and I said, "Words are not just words. Words are creative power. Your word is your wand. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Do you understand? Words are how God creates. Words are how you create. When you speak with faith and authority, you set spiritual law into motion. And when you speak your word and then surrender into sleep, you hand the entire manifestation over to infinite intelligence, which works all night while you rest. I could see she didn't fully believe me. But she was desperate enough to try anything, so she agreed. That night, she went home, and before she got into bed, she stood in her bedroom and spoke those words out loud. She told me later that the first time she said them, she felt ridiculous. She felt like she was lying to herself, but she said them anyway. The second night, she said them again, and this time something shifted. She felt a tiny bit lighter, like a weight had been lifted just slightly. The third night, she said them with a little more conviction. And by the seventh night, something remarkable had happened. She no longer felt desperate. She couldn't explain it, but deep inside she knew something was changing. 2 weeks after she started this practice, she received a phone call. A gallery owner she had never met called her out of the blue. Someone had recommended her work. They wanted to feature her in an upcoming show. She could barely believe it. Within 30 days, she sold more paintings than she had sold in the previous year. Within 90 days, she was completely out of debt and had more commissions than she could handle. And all of this happened not because she worked harder, not because she learned new techniques, but because she stopped poisoning her subconscious with fear every night and started commanding wealth instead. Now, I'm going to tell you another story because I want you to see that this principle works for anyone regardless of their circumstances. I knew a man, a businessman, who had been struggling for years. He had read every success book. He had attended every seminar. He worked 16-hour days. He was doing everything he thought he was supposed to do. But no matter how hard he tried, he stayed stuck at the same income level year after year. He was exhausted, burned out, and deeply resentful. He felt like the universe was against him. When he came to me, I could see the exhaustion in his face. He said, "Florence, I've done everything right. I work harder than anyone I know. Why am I still barely making it?" And I said, "Because you're trying to force the universe to give you wealth through effort. But wealth doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. You're fighting when you should be resting. You're controlling when you should be surrendering." He didn't understand. So I asked him the same question I asked the artist. I said, "What do you do every night before you fall asleep?" He said, "I review my to-do list for the next day. I think about all the things I didn't accomplish. I worry about whether I'm going to make enough money this month. Then I fall asleep mentally exhausted." I said, "And that's exactly why you're high stuck. You're spending 8 hours every night in a state of anxiety and control. You're impressing struggle and limitation into your subconscious. Then you wake up and do it all over again. You're trapped in a cycle, and you don't even realize it." I gave him a new practice every night. He was to do 4 simple things. First, speak a financial decree out loud with authority. Second, visualize himself as already wealthy, feeling the relief and freedom of having unlimited supply. Third, say these words, "It is done, The universe now handles the details. And fourth, surrender completely into sleep, releasing all concern about how or when the wealth would appear. The first week, nothing changed externally. But internally, he noticed something different. He felt calmer. He stopped obsessing over money during the day. He found himself making decisions from a place of peace rather than panic. The second week, an old business contact reached out with an unexpected opportunity. The third week, a deal he thought was completely dead suddenly came back to life. Within 3 months, his income had tripled. And here's the remarkable part. He was working less than before, not more. He came back to me amazed. He said, "Florence, I don't understand. I'm doing less and I'm making more." "How is that possible?" I said. "Because you finally stopped interfering with the law. You stopped trying to control every detail. You spoke your word. You handed it over to infinite intelligence. And then you let the universe do its work while you slept. You learned the most important lesson. Wealth comes through alignment, not through struggle." Now, I can hear some of you thinking, "But Florence, this sounds too simple. It can't be that easy." And you're right. It's not easy, but not for the reason you think. The method is simple. Speaking your word before bed is simple. Surrendering into sleep is simple. What's not easy is stopping the interference. What's not easy is quieting the anxious mind that wants to control every detail. What's not easy is having the faith to let go and trust the law. Most people can't do it. They'll try for a night or two, then give up because they don't see instant results. Or they'll speak the words but not believe them. Or they'll surrender for a moment, then wake up at 300 in the morning again and start worrying again, completely undoing all the work they did before bed. This is why faith is so important. And let me be clear about what I mean by faith, because most people misunderstand it. Faith is not a feeling. Faith is a decision. Faith is not waiting until you feel confident or peaceful or certain. Faith is speaking your word even when you feel afraid, even when circumstances look impossible, even when every logical part of your mind is screaming that it won't work. You don't have to feel wealthy to command wealth. You don't have to feel abundant to decree abundance. You simply have to speak the word as if it's already done, and then surrender the outcome to the power that created the entire universe. Think about that for a moment. The same intelligence that spins the planets, that makes your heart beat without you thinking about it, that grows an entire tree from a tiny seed. That intelligence is available to right now. And it's most available to you when you stop trying to do everything yourself and simply rest in faith. This is what I mean when I say you are most powerful when you are asleep. Not because sleep is magical, but because sleep is surrender. Sleep is letting go. Sleep is saying to the universe, "I've done my part. I've spoken my word. Now you do yours." And the universe always does its part. Always. The problem is never with the law. The law is perfect, unchanging, and completely reliable. The problem is always with us, with our doubt, our fear, our impatience, our need to control. So let me break this down for you into the simplest possible terms, because I want you to succeed with this. Tonight, before you go to sleep, you're going to do something different. You're going to take control of what you impress upon your subconscious mind. And you're going to do it through the power of the spoken word. First, you need to create your wealth command. This is not an affirmation that you hope might work. This is a command, a decree, a statement of spiritual law. It needs to be clear, powerful, and stated as if it's already done. Let me give you some examples. You might say, "Infinite supply now pours into my life from expected and unexpected sources." Or you might say, "I am a magnet for divine wealth. Money flows to me effortlessly and continuously." Or you might say, My perfect financial abundance is now made manifest. Every door opens. Every need is met. Every desire is fulfilled. Or you might say, I sleep in peace knowing unlimited wealth is mine by divine right. Choose the one that resonates most strongly with you, or create your own. But make sure it meets these requirements. It must be in present tense as if it's already happening now. It must feel powerful and true when you say it. It should include the word now to anchor it in this moment. And it should end with a statement of faith, trust, or surrender. Once you have your command, write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every night before bed. Memorize it so thoroughly that it becomes as natural to you as breathing. Now, here's the second part, and this is crucial. You must speak your command out loud, not silently in your head, but audibly with your voice. Why? Because when you speak aloud, you engage your entire being. You hear the words with your ears. You feel the vibration in your body. You activate the creative power of sound itself. In the beginning was the word God spoke and worlds came into being. You are made in the image and likeness of God. When you speak with faith and authority, you are using the same creative power that formed the universe. So every night before you lie down to sleep, stand if you're able. Place your hand on your heart if it helps you feel more connected. And speak your wealth command out loud with authority, not timidly. Not as a question, but as someone who knows the law and knows their divine right to abundance. Say it 3 times. The first time, speak it clearly and firmly. The second time, speak it with even more conviction. The third time, speak it with absolute certainty, as if you're sealing a decree that cannot be broken. Now comes the third part. After you've spoken your command, lie down and close your eyes. Don't try to visualize specific things. Don't try to picture exact dollar amounts or specific material possessions. Instead, tune into the feeling of wealth. What does wealth feel like? It feels like relief, like a weight has been lifted. It feels like freedom, the freedom to make choices without fear. It feels like peace, deep, unshakable peace. It feels like gratitude, profound thankfulness for the abundance that surrounds you. It feels like joy, the simple, quiet joy of knowing you are provided for. Feel that now, even if just for a moment. Let that feeling fill your chest. Let it relax your shoulders. Let it soften your face. Let it spread through your entire body. This is not pretending. This is tuning your consciousness to the frequency of wealth. You're aligning yourself with abundance at the level of feeling, which is the language your subconscious understands best. Now, here comes the hardest part for most people: the surrender. After you've spoken your word and felt the feeling of wealth, you must completely let go. You must release all concern about how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or whether it's really going to happen. Say to yourself, either silently or aloud, it is done. The universe now handles all the details. I rest in perfect faith. And then truly rest. Let yourself drift into sleep. If anxious thoughts come up, and they will, don't fight them. Simply notice them and then return to your command. Speak it again silently in your mind. Return to the feeling of wealth and let yourself relax deeper. The key to this entire process is that you're not staying awake trying to figure anything out. You're not lying there making plans or worrying about obstacles. You're planting the seed with your spoken word. You're watering it with your feeling. And then you're letting God make it grow while you sleep. This is the law of creation. You speak, you feel, you surrender. The universe handles everything else. Now, I need to address something that trips many people up. You might wake up in the morning and look around and see that nothing has changed. Your bank account is the same. Your circumstances look the same. And you might think, see, it didn't work. But that's not how the law works. The law doesn't always produce instant physical results. What it does is it starts moving invisible forces into alignment. It begins rearranging circumstances behind the scenes. It starts attracting the people, opportunities, and resources that will manifest your word. Sometimes the changes happen overnight. I've seen it. I've seen debts disappear. Unexpected checks arrive. Perfect opportunities suddenly materialize. But sometimes the changes take days or weeks or even months. Not because the law is slow, but because there's a divine timing to everything. And infinite intelligence knows the perfect moment for your good to appear. Your job is not to worry about the timing. Your job is simply to keep speaking your word every night. Keep feeling the feeling of wealth. Keep surrendering into sleep with faith. And in the meantime, during your waking hours, stay open and alert for opportunities. This is important. The universe will guide you. You'll get hunches, intuitive nudges, sudden ideas. You might feel drawn to call someone, to go somewhere, to try something new. Follow those impulses. That's infinite intelligence leading you toward your manifestation. But don't confuse guidance with control. Guidance is a gentle inner knowing. Control is anxious mental planning. Guidance says, call that person. Control says, I need to figure out exactly what to say and how to manipulate the outcome. Guidance feels light and easy. Control feels heavy and stressful. Always choose guidance over control. Always choose faith over fear. Always choose surrender over struggle. Let me tell you one more story to illustrate the power of divine timing. I knew a woman who was desperately trying to sell her house. She needed to move for a new job, but her house had been on the market for months with no offers. She was stressed, anxious, and starting to panic because she was to lose the job opportunity if she couldn't relocate soon. I taught her the practice I'm teaching you. Speak your word before sleep. Feel the feeling of relief and perfect timing. Surrender to divine intelligence. Trust that the right buyer is already on their way. She did it faithfully every night for 2 weeks. Still no offers. She called me frustrated. She said, Florence, I've been doing everything you said, but nothing is happening. I'm running out of time. I said, have you been worrying during the day? She admitted she had. She said she couldn't help it. I said, then you're undoing at noon what you're creating at midnight. You must hold the faith all day long, not just at bedtime. Every time worry comes, you speak your word again. You return to the feeling of trust. You remind yourself that infinite intelligence is handling the details. She agreed to try harder. 1 week later, she received an offer. But it wasn't quite enough money, and there were some conditions she didn't like. She was about to turn it down when she remembered what I had taught her about divine timing and trusting the process. She prayed about it. She asked for guidance, and she got a strong inner feeling to accept the offer. Even though it wasn't exactly what she wanted, she trusted that feeling and said yes. 2 days after she accepted, the buyer revealed that they had been looking for months for the perfect house for their elderly mother. And this house was exactly what they needed. They were so grateful that they offered an additional 10,000 and agreed to let her stay an extra month rent-free while she found a place in her new city. She ended up getting more money than she originally wanted, plus the extra time she needed. If she had gotten an offer earlier when she was demanding it, she would have missed this perfect buyer. But infinite intelligence knew the timing, knew the details, knew the perfect way to fulfill her need in a way that blessed everyone involved. This is what I mean when I say surrender to divine timing. You don't know the whole picture. You don't know what the universe is arranging behind the scenes. Your job is simply to speak your word, trust the law, and let infinite intelligence handle the how and the when. Now, Let's talk about what you do when you wake up in the morning. This is just as important as what you do before sleep. In the morning, the moment you open your eyes, before you check your phone, before you worry about your day, speak your wealth command again. Say it out loud if you're alone or silently in your mind if you're not. Say it with gratitude as if it's already done. Thank the universe for your unlimited supply. Thank infinite intelligence for handling all the details. Feel the feeling of abundance filling your body as you start your day. Then get up and go about your morning with a light heart. Don't immediately check your bank account or start stressing about money. Instead, move through your day with an attitude of expectancy. Something wonderful is happening today. Your good is on its way. Opportunities are aligning for you right now. This doesn't mean you don't take practical action. You absolutely do. You show up for work. You answer emails. You do what needs to be done, but you do it all from a place of peace and faith, not from a place of desperation and fear. And here's what will start to happen. You'll notice that you make better decisions. You'll find that you're more creative. You'll discover that people respond to you differently. Opportunities will start showing up that weren't there before. It's as if the entire universe cooperating with you instead of resisting you. This is because you've changed the vibration you're sending out. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack and struggle. You're vibrating at the frequency of abundance and faith. And the law of attraction, which is really just the law of consciousness, brings you experiences that match your vibration. Now, I want to address a question I get asked all the time. People say, "Florence, what if I speak my word at night, but during the day something happens that makes me doubt? What if I get a bill I can't pay or I lose a client or something goes wrong? Doesn't that cancel out my nighttime work?" Here's the truth. Circumstances will test your faith. That's how you know you're on the path. The universe has to see if you really believe what you're speaking, or if you're just saying words. When something challenging happens during the day, that's not a sign that the law isn't working. That's a sign that you're being given an opportunity to strengthen your faith. When something unwanted appears, don't react with fear. Don't say, "I knew it wouldn't work." Instead, stand firm in your word. Look at the circumstance and say, either silently or aloud, "This appearance has no power over me. My word is law. Infinite supply is mine now." Then turn your attention away from the problem and back to your faith. This is what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. It means you don't judge by appearances. You don't let the physical world dictate your spiritual truth. You hold to your word, no matter what shows up, knowing that your word is more powerful than any circumstance. And I promise you this. If you hold steady, if you refuse to be moved by appearances, if you keep speaking your word night and day with unwavering faith, the circumstances will change. They have to. It's law. The outer world must conform to your inner consciousness eventually. But most people give up right before the breakthrough. They speak their word for a few days, maybe a week, and when they don't see instant results, they quit. They go back to worrying, complaining, doubting, and then they say, "See, this metaphysical stuff doesn't work." But it does work. It always works. The question is, are you working with it consistently enough and faithfully enough to see the results? Think of it like planting a garden. You plant a seed, you water it, and then you wait. You don't dig up the seed the next day to check if it's growing. You trust the process. You trust that underneath the soil, invisible to your eyes, something is happening. Roots are forming. Life is stirring. And one day, when the time is right, a shoot breaks through the surface, and you see the evidence of what was growing all along. Your word is a seed. When you speak it with faith and water it, with feeling and surrender it into the soil of sleep, it begins to grow. But you can't see it growing in the beginning. You have to trust. You have to wait. You have to keep watering it every night with your faithful practice. And then one day, the manifestation breaks through. The check arrives. The opportunity appears. The debt is resolved. The abundance you've been decreeing suddenly becomes visible in your physical world. And when that happens, don't be surprised. Don't say, "Oh, wow, what a coincidence." No, this is not coincidence. This is law. This is the natural result of speaking your word in faith and surrendering to infinite intelligence. Now, I want to talk about something else that's very important, and that's the state of with your consciousness throughout the day. You can't just speak your wealth command at night and then spend your whole day complaining about being broke. You can't declare abundance before bed and then tell everyone who will listen about your financial problems during the day. That's like planting seeds at night and pouring poison on them in the morning. Your entire consciousness needs to align with wealth, not just at bedtime, but all day long. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you never have a moment of worry or doubt. It means that when those moments come, you catch yourself quickly and return to your truth. The moment you catch yourself thinking a poverty thought, stop. Replace it with your wealth command. The moment you catch yourself speaking words of lack, stop. Speak words of abundance instead. It's like training a muscle. At first, it's hard. You forget. You slip back into old patterns. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes until eventually thinking wealthy thoughts becomes your natural default. Let me give you some practical ways to stay in wealth consciousness during the day. First, be very careful about what you say. Remember, your word is your wand. Every word you speak is a command to your subconscious and to the universe. Don't say things like, "I can't afford that." Say instead, "I'm choosing not to purchase that right now." Or better yet, abundant resources are flowing to me now. Don't say, "I'm so broke." Say instead, "I am richly supplied from the infinite source." Don't say, "Money is so hard to come by." Say instead, "Money comes to me easily and frequently from expected and unexpected sources." Watch your words like a hawk. Your words are creating your future. Every single word matters. Second, practice gratitude for what you already have. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your consciousness from lack to abundance. Even if you only have a little right now, be grateful for it. Thank the universe for your home, even if it's not your dream home. Thank the universe for the food in your pantry, even if it's not gourmet. Thank the universe for the money in your account, even if it's not as much as you want. Gratitude tells the universe, "I recognize abundance. I see blessings. I am open to receiving more." And the law responds by giving you more to be grateful for. Third, be generous. I know this sounds counterintuitive when you're trying to increase your wealth, but generosity is one of the most powerful wealth attractors there is. When you give, whether it's money, time, kindness, or help, you're making a statement to the universe. You're saying, "I have plenty. I am abundant. I am a channel through which blessings flow." And the universe always fills a channel. Give and it shall be given unto you. This is spiritual law. Now, I'm not telling you to give recklessly or to give beyond your means. But I am telling you to be generous within your means. If you can give $1, give it joyfully. If you can give a smile, give it freely. If you can give encouragement, give it generously. Whatever you give multiplies and returns to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Fourth, surround yourself with wealth consciousness. Be careful about who you spend time with and what you expose your mind to. If You're constantly around people who complain about money, who speak poverty, who live in fear and lack. Their consciousness will influence yours. I'm not saying you should abandon your loved ones, but I am saying you need to protect your consciousness. If someone starts complaining about how hard life is and how they'll never get ahead, you don't have to join in. You can silently bless them and speak your own truth in your mind. And be mindful of what you watch, read, and listen to. If you're constantly consuming news about economic crashes and recessions and doom and gloom, you're programming your subconscious with fear. Instead, fill your mind with inspiring stories, wealth consciousness teachings, and positive, uplifting content. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant in it will grow. Plant seeds of wealth, abundance, faith, and possibility. Pull out the weeds of fear, doubt, lack, and limitation as soon as they appear. Now, let's talk about dealing with actual financial challenges while you're building your wealth consciousness. Let's say you have bills you can't pay right now, or debt that's overwhelming you, or you just lost your job. These are real situations that require real action, not just positive thinking. Here's what you do. You handle what needs to be handled practically and responsibly. You make the phone calls you need to make. You set up payment plans. You look for work. You do whatever physical action is required. But, and this is crucial, you do all of that action from a place of faith, not fear. Before you make that phone call to your creditor, speak your wealth command. Affirm that you are divinely guided, and that this situation is resolving in the perfect way. When you're applying for jobs, affirm that your perfect opportunity is seeking you just as you're seeking it. When you're paying what bills you can, be grateful that you have the money to pay them, and affirm that more is on the way. You handle your business, but you don't let your business steal your peace or your faith. This is what it means to be in the world, but not of it. You participate in the practical physical world, but your trust, your security, your confidence is not in the physical world. It's in the spiritual law that governs the physical world. And here's what I've seen happen time and time again. When people hold this balance, taking practical action while maintaining spiritual faith, miracles happen. The creditor suddenly offers a better payment plan than you expected. The job you interview for turns out to be better than what you were even hoping for. Money appears from sources you never imagined. The universe is infinitely creative, and when you trust it, it will astound you with its solutions. Now, we're going to go deeper. I want you to understand something profound about wealth. Wealth is not just money. Money is simply one form of wealth, one symbol of abundance. True wealth is a consciousness, a state of being, and knowing that you are one with the infinite source of all supply. When you have wealth consciousness, money flows to you naturally, but you also experience wealth in every area of your life. You're wealthy in health. You're wealthy in relationships. You're wealthy in opportunities. You're wealthy in ideas. You're wealthy in joy and peace and fulfillment. This is why I say that you must become wealthy in your mind before you can become wealthy in your bank account. If you're poor in consciousness, if you see yourself as limited, lacking, struggling, then no amount of money will make you feel wealthy. You'll always be afraid of losing it. You'll always feel like it's not enough. You'll always be worried about the future. But when you develop true wealth consciousness, even if you only have a money right now, you feel abundant. You know more is on the way. You trust the source. You live with a generous spirit and an open heart. And that consciousness attracts more and more physical wealth to match your inner state. So how do you develop wealth consciousness? You develop it the same way you develop any consciousness. Through repetition, through practice, through consistent focus. Every night with your bedtime command, you're building wealth consciousness. Every morning, when you wake with gratitude and expectancy, you're building wealth consciousness. Every time you catch a poverty thought and replace it with an abundance thought, you're building wealth consciousness. It's like building a muscle. At first, it's weak. It's hard to hold the thought. Your old programming keeps pulling you back, but you keep exercising it. You keep affirming. You keep visualizing. You keep feeling the feeling. And gradually over time, wealth consciousness becomes your default state. You no longer have to force it. It's just who you are. And when you reach that point, wealth flows to you as naturally and inevitably as water flows downhill. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to manipulate or scheme. You simply live your life from a place of abundance. And abundance manifests in physical form. This is the secret. This is what the wealthy understand that the poor don't. Wealth is an inside job. It's a consciousness. And consciousness can be changed. No matter where you are right now, no matter how broke you feel, no matter how impossible your situation seems, you can change your consciousness. And when you change your consciousness, your circumstances must change to match. Now, I'm going to give you the exact words to speak tonight. I want you to personalize them if you need to, but use this as your foundation. After I give you these words, we're going to spend time together in a space of deep rest and reception, allowing these truths to sink into the deepest part of your being. Here is your wealth command. Speak it with me now. Even if you're lying down, even if you're falling asleep, let these words wash over you and through you. Infinite wealth is mine now. I am one with the source of all supply. Money flows to me easily, constantly, and abundantly from expected and unexpected sources. I am a magnet for prosperity. Every door opens before me. Every need is met before I even ask. I am richly, lavishly, abundantly supplied with all good things. My work is valued. My contribution is recognized. I am rewarded generously for the gift I bring to the world. There is no lack in me. There is no limitation in me. I am filled with divine substance. And manifestance now manifests as wealth in my life. I sleep in perfect peace knowing that while I rest, infinite intelligence is arranging all the details of my supply. I wake to abundance. I live in abundance. I breathe in abundance. It is done. It is law. And so it is. Feel those words now. Let them slowly into your body. Breathe slowly and deeply. With each breath, feel yourself relaxing deeper. With each breath, feel yourself letting go of every worry, every fear, every doubt. You are safe. You are supported. You are infinitely supplied. The universe is not struggling to give you wealth. The universe wants you to have wealth. It is your divine birthright. You are a child of the infinite. And all that the infinite has is yours. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove you're worthy. You simply have to open yourself to receive it. And right now, as you rest, you are opening. Every cell of your body is opening to receive abundance. Your subconscious mind is accepting the truth of your unlimited supply. The law is being set in motion. And tomorrow and the next day and every day forward, evidence of your wealth will begin to appear in your life. You might see it in small ways at first. An unexpected refund, a gift, a discount, a raise, a new client. Don't dismiss these small things. Recognize them as evidence that the law is working. Give thanks for them. And know that these small manifestations are just the beginning. As you continue this practice faithfully, night after night, the manifestations will grow. What starts as small blessings will become larger blessings. What starts as trickles will become streams. What starts as streams will become rivers. And one day you'll look around at your life, and you'll realize you're living in the overflow. Abundance surrounds you. Wealth is your constant companion. And you'll remember this night, this moment, when you first learned the secret of speaking your wealth into being while you sleep. Let yourself drift now. Let yourself float in this truth. You are wealthy. You are abundant. You are infinitely supplied. Say it to yourself softly as you fall deeper into rest. I am wealthy. I am abundant. I am infinitely supplied. Your subconscious is receiving this now. It's accepting it as truth. And even as you sleep, it's working to make this truth manifest in your physical world. You don't have to do anything else. You've done your part. You've spoken your word. Now the universe does its part. Rest in faith. Rest in peace. Rest in the absolute, knowing that unlimited wealth is yours by divine right. And it is manifesting now. Tomorrow when you awake as a new person, a wealthier person. Not because anything has changed externally, but because everything has changed internally. Your consciousness has been transformed, and your new consciousness will create a new reality. So sleep well, beloved. Sleep in the arms of infinite supply. Sleep knowing that every breath you take, every heartbeat, every moment of rest is bringing you closer to the manifestation of your wealth. And when you wake with gratitude, wake with joy, wake expecting miracles because miracles are your natural inheritance. Abundance is your natural state and wealth is already yours. You are wealthy now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. In this moment, in the realm of infinite possibility, in the kingdom of divine consciousness, you are already wealthy. All that remains is for that inner wealth to express itself in physical form. And it will, it must. It is law. So I release you now into sleep, into peace, into the loving arms of infinite intelligence that knows exactly how to bring your good to you. Sleep deeply, rest completely, and know that unlimited wealth is already on its way to you. It is done. And so it is. Money is not made on earth, it is released from heaven. Long before your employer signs your check, long before the client says yes, long before the opportunity even appears on your doorstep, there is a transaction taking place in the invisible realm where all supply lives. I have seen fortunes shift in an instant because someone finally understood this principle. You do not chase money. You do not beg for money. You do not manipulate or scheme for money. You speak your word with the authority of one who knows that infinite intelligence is the source. And you prepare to receive what has already been set aside with your name on it. This is not philosophy. This is spiritual law, and it works with absolute precision. Now, I want you to listen to me very carefully, because what I am about to share with you has the power to transform your entire financial life. Most people treat money as if it comes from their job, their clients, their circumstances, their family, their education, their connections. And this fundamental misunderstanding, this tragic misidentification of the source, keeps them trapped in a cycle of lack, anxiety, worry, fear, and absolute powerlessness. They believe that their prosperity depends on forces outside their control. They believe that the economy dictates their wealth. They believe that their boss holds their future in his hands. They believe that if they just work harder, hustle more, sacrifice longer, that eventually the universe will reward them with the abundance they seek. And year after year, they exhaust themselves chasing after money that seems to slip through their fingers the moment they grasp it. You have been taught to fear scarcity. You have been taught to hoard what little you have. You have been taught to obsess over the external, to check your bank account with dread, to panic when the bills come, to worry about tomorrow, to count every penny, to live in a state of constant financial anxiety. This is the lie that has enslaved humanity for centuries. This is the illusion that keeps people working themselves into the ground, sacrificing their health, their relationships, their peace of mind, all in pursuit of a security that can never be found in the material world. But I am here to tell you a different truth. I am here to show you the invisible mechanism behind every financial miracle. I am here to reveal the divine process that takes place in the unseen realm before a single dollar manifests in your physical world. Because once you understand this process, once you see how the universe actually operates, once you grasp the spiritual law that governs all supply, you will never look at money the same way again. You will never beg for it again. You will never worship it again. You will never fear the loss of it again, because you will finally understand that your supply is not dependent on the economy, your education, your connections, or your current circumstances. Your supply is dependent on your alignment with universal law, your spoken word, and your willingness to act as if infinite intelligence is your employer. And here is the core pain that I am addressing today. The misunderstanding that causes more suffering than perhaps any other. You are exhausted from trying to force, manipulate, and control your way to prosperity. You have affirmed, you have visualized, you have hoped, you have prayed, you have worked yourself to exhaustion, and yet nothing changes. The bank account stays empty. The opportunities never come. The doors remain closed, and you begin to wonder if there is something wrong with you. If you are cursed, if God has forgotten you, if the universe simply does not care about your struggle. This is because you have been taught manifestation without understanding the law of preparation, the law of non-resistance, and the law of divine timing. You have been given half the truth, is more dangerous than a complete lie, because it gives you just enough hope to gum of towns. Keep trying, but not enough understanding to actually succeed. You are working against the universe instead of with it. You are pushing when you should be allowing. You are forcing when you should be surrendering. You are speaking words of lack while demanding abundance. You are looking at appearances and calling them reality. And every single day, you are blocking your own good with your fear, your doubt, your impatience, and your refusal to trust the invisible process. Now, here is the insight that changes everything. Here is the truth that no one tells you. The secret that has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. Your good has already been prepared. Right now, as I speak these words to you, as you listen with your conscious mind, your supply exists in the invisible realm. Fully formed, complete, perfect, and ready to materialize in your physical world. It is not coming someday. It is not dependent on future conditions. It is not waiting for you to become worthy, or to prove yourself, or to suffer long enough. It is there right now in the fourth dimension, in the realm of perfect ideas, in the mind of God, waiting only for one thing: your consciousness to align with it. The only thing standing between you and your financial freedom is your consciousness. Not your circumstances, not your education, not your past failures, not the economy, not your age or your background or your lack of connections. Your consciousness, your fear, your doubt, your refusal to speak with authority. Your inability to recognize the invisible signs that your answer is on the way. Your habit of looking at the empty bank account and calling it truth. Your tendency to panic at the appearance of lack instead of standing firm in faith. Your practice of speaking words of limitation while claiming to believe in abundance. This video will teach you how to align with what has already been set aside for you. I am going to show you how to recognize when heaven is moving on your behalf. I am going to teach you how to stop sabotaging your blessings with your words and your worry. I am going to reveal the 3 stages of divine preparation that take place in the invisible before anything manifests in the visible. And I am going to give you practical, simple, powerful steps that you can take today right now, this very moment, to open the channel and allow your good to flow to you with the ease and speed that is your divine birthright. Because here is what you need to understand. You do not need more money. You need a new consciousness. You do not need more opportunities. You need to stop blocking the ones that are already headed toward you. You do not need to beg God for supply. You need to understand that God is supply. And when you align with that truth, when you finally get it deep in your bones, when you speak it and live it and demonstrate it with your actions, then every door opens, every channel clears, every obstacle dissolves, and your life becomes a demonstration of infinite abundance. So let me tell you a story. Let me show you how this law works in real life in concrete terms, with real people facing real problems. Because this is not theory. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual law as reliable as gravity, as consistent as mathematics, as undeniable as the rising sun. I knew a woman who was completely without funds. Her rent was due in 3 days. Her cupboards were empty. She had no job prospects, no family to call on, no savings to draw from. By all appearances, by every logical calculation, by the judgment of anyone looking at her situation from the outside, she was facing disaster. She was about to be evicted. She was about to go hungry. She was about to lose everything. And most people in her position would have panicked. Most people would have sunk into despair, would have cursed their luck, would have blamed God, would have given up entirely or scrambled in desperation, trying to manipulate some solution out of thin air. But this woman understood something that most people never learn in their entire lives. She understood the law of preparation. She understood that faith without works is dead. She understood that you cannot sit in lack consciousness and expect abundance to find you. She understood that the universe responds not to your words alone, not to your prayers alone, not to your hopes alone, but to your consciousness made visible through action. So instead of sitting on her bed weeping, instead of complaining about how unfair life was, instead of calling everyone she knew to beg for help, instead of sinking into victim consciousness and despair, she did something that would seem absolutely insane to the logical mind. She went to her closet and began to organize her life as if her good had already arrived. She cleaned her home from top to bottom, scrubbing every corner, washing every dish, making every surface shine. She set her table beautifully with her best dishes, with flowers in a vase, as if she were expecting a guest of honor. She took out her nicest clothes, the ones she had been saving for some special occasion, and she dressed herself with care and dignity, as if she were going to an important celebration. And here is what happened. Within 3 days, money came to her from a source so unexpected, so impossible, so completely outside the realm of anything she could have predicted or planned that even I, who have seen this law work thousands of times, marveled at the precision and perfection of the universe. A distant relative she had not spoken to in years called her out of the blue. This relative had just sold a property and felt a sudden, undeniable urge to share a portion of the proceeds with her. There was no logical reason, there was no obligation, there was no prior communication. It was simply a divine appointment, orchestrated by infinite intelligence, moving through the invisible realm to meet this woman's need at the exact moment. She aligned her consciousness with receiving. Now you might say that was luck. You might say that was coincidence. You might say that the relative was just being kind. But I am telling you that it was the law. It was cause and effect. It was the natural, inevitable result of this woman's faith, made visible through her actions. Let me explain what was happening in the invisible realm while she prepared. This is the part that most people never see. The part that most people do not understand. the part that makes all the difference between those who demonstrate prosperity and those who remain trapped in lack. While she was cleaning her home, while she was setting her table, while she was dressing with care and dignity, the universe was responding to her consciousness. Channels were opening. Obstacles were being removed. The right people were being moved into position. Her relative, hundreds of miles away, was receiving an intuitive impulse, a sudden thought, a feeling that would not go away. The money that was meant for her was being released from the invisible and set into motion through the channels that infinite intelligence had prepared. And most importantly, her own consciousness was being aligned with receiving. Because here is the truth that most people miss. You cannot receive what you are not prepared to hold. The universe will not pour abundance into a consciousness of lack. God will not give you a fortune if you are vibrating at the frequency of poverty. Infinite intelligence will not send you opportunities if you are speaking words of defeat and dressing like a beggar and living in chaos and disorder. Preparation is your announcement to the universe that you are ready. It is your declaration that you believe your good is on the way. It is your demonstration of faith made visible. And the moment you prepare, the moment you act as if your blessing has already arrived, the moment you align your external actions with your internal belief, the universe has no choice but to respond. This is law. This is not special favor. This is not luck. This is the way the spiritual realm operates. And it works every single time for every single person who understands it and applies it with faith. You see, most people block their not because they do not pray, but because they do not prepare. They sit in lack consciousness, speaking words of defeat, refusing to move until they see the money, insisting that they will believe it when they see it. And so the money never comes because the law does not work that way. The law requires faith first, action first, preparation first. You must believe it before you see it. You must act as if it is already done. You must prepare the vessel before the universe can pour the blessing. Let me give you another example. Another story that illustrates a different aspect of this invisible preparation. A man came to me once in absolute despair. He had been waiting for months, nearly a year, for a business deal to close. This was not a small deal. This was a deal that would transform his financial situation entirely. That would lift him out of debt. That would set him up for years to come. He had done everything right from a human perspective. He had negotiated well. He had submitted all the paperwork. He had followed up consistently. But month after month, there were delays. First it was one thing, then another. A signature was missing. A document needed revised. A partner had to review the terms. On and on it went. And with each delay, this man sank deeper into fear and frustration. Every morning he woke up, and the first thing he did was check his phone, check his email, check his mailbox, looking for the confirmation that the deal had closed. Every day, nothing. And every day, his faith eroded a little more. He began to doubt. He began to panic. He began to speak words of defeat. He told his friends that the deal was probably going to fall through. He told his family that he had been foolish to hope. He stayed awake at night running worst-case scenarios in his mind, imagining himself bankrupt, homeless, ruined. He was convinced that God had abandoned him, that the universe was cruel, that his faith had been in vain, that he was a fool forever believing that prosperity was possible for him. When he came to me, he was on the edge of collapse, and I told him what I am telling you now. There is no such thing as divine delay. There is only divine timing, and divine timing is always perfect, always without exception. Every single time, even when it does not feel that way, even when your logical mind cannot see the reason, Even when you are convinced that the delay is going to destroy you, I asked him to stop focusing on the deal. I asked him to stop checking his phone every 5 minutes. I asked him to stop looking at appearances and start trusting the invisible process. I gave him an affirmation to repeat with absolute faith multiple times a day until it sank deep into his subconscious mind. Infinite intelligence is arranging every detail of this situation for my highest good. I relax and let the divine plan unfold in perfect ways. I am protected. I am guided. I am for good cannot be withheld from me. He resisted at first. Of course he did. Because the ego always resists surrender. The logical mind always wants to control, to push, to force, to make things happen according to its own limited timeline. He wanted to know how the deal was going to close. He wanted to know when it was going to happen. He wanted to manage every detail, to control every outcome, to ensure that nothing went wrong. But I told him that his job was not to figure out the how or the when. His job was to speak his word with authority, to maintain his faith regardless of appearances, and to get out of the way so that infinite intelligence could do the work that only infinite intelligence can do. Eventually, after weeks of wrestling with his fear and his need to control, he surrendered. He stopped obsessing over the deal. He stopped checking his phone 100 times a day. He stopped speaking words of doubt and defeat. He started his mornings with his affirmation. He went about his life with a sense of peace and trust that had been completely absent before. And here is what happened. Here is how the universe moved when he finally got out of the way. The deal did not close the way he expected. It did not happen according to his timeline. But it closed in a way that was 10 times better than anything he had imagined. The terms that had been negotiated were suddenly revised in his favor. A partner he had never met before came into the picture and brought resources that expanded the entire project. Opportunities opened up that had not existed when the deal first started. And the timing that had frustrated you so deeply turned out to be absolutely perfect. Because during those months of delay, certain market conditions shifted. Certain legal issues were resolved. Certain obstacles that would have destroyed the deal later on were cleared away without him even knowing they existed. When he called me to tell me what had happened, when he shared the final outcome, he wept. Not because he got the money, though that was certainly a relief. He wept because he finally understood what I had been trying to teach him. He wept because he saw with absolute clarity that the universe had been protecting him, guiding him, preparing him, perfecting every detail of the situation, while he had been convinced that he was being abandoned. So let me ask you, what is happening in heaven while you wait? What is being arranged in the invisible realm while you are looking at your empty bank account and panicking? What doors are being opened? What obstacles are being removed? What perfect timing is being orchestrated while you are convinced that nothing is happening? This is the truth about divine timing. It is not slow, it is precise. It is not withholding your good. It is perfecting it. It is not punishing you. It is protecting you. And when you understand this, when you stop fighting the process and start trusting it, when you stop insisting on your way and your timeline and your limited understanding, then you will see miracles unfold in your life with a speed and a perfection that defies all human logic. Now, let me teach you the mechanics of this process. Let me show you exactly what happens in the invisible realm before your good manifests in the visible world. Because once you understand the stages, once you see the divine order, once you recognize where you are in the process, you will stop panicking and start cooperating with the law. Everything begins in the invisible. This is the first truth you must grasp. before you see your blessing, before you hold it in your hands, before it materializes in your bank account, before it shows up at your door, it exists as a complete and perfect idea in divine mind. This is what I call the fourth dimension, the realm where all things are possible. The place where your supply has been waiting for you since before you were born. In divine mind, in the consciousness of God, in the realm of infinite possibility, there is no lack. There is no limitation. There is no such thing as not enough. There is only abundance, only perfection, only unlimited supply. And everything you could ever need or desire already exists there as a perfect idea, waiting only for your consciousness to claim it, for your word to call it forth, for your faith to give it permission to materialize in your life. But here is the key that most people miss: the understanding that separates those who demonstrate abundance from those who remain trapped in lack. You cannot pull from the invisible with your worry. You cannot access divine supply with your fear. You cannot call forth abundance while speaking words of lack. Your word is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. Your word is the creative force that either opens the channel or blocks it completely. And every single word you speak, every single thought you hold, every single image you entertain, in your imagination is traveling to the invisible realm and impressing itself upon the universal substance that is the raw material of all creation. When you say, "I am broke," you are giving an order to the universe. You are impressing that image of brokenness, of emptiness, of lack upon the creative substance. And the law does not argue with you. The law does not say, "But you are not really broke. Let me give you abundance anyway." The law simply says, "Your word is your command." And it begins to arrange circumstances to match the vibration you have sent out. It brings you experiences that confirm your declaration. It aligns your life with the conscious you have expressed. It creates for you exactly what you have said. When you say, "I never have enough," when you say money is so hard to come by, when you say, "I cannot afford it," when you say, "I am always struggling," you are not simply I never have enough. Describing your situation, you are creating your situation. You are speaking into existence the very thing you claim to not want. You are using the creative power of your word against yourself. This is why I teach you to speak with authority. This is why I tell you to guard your words as if your life depends on it, because it does. Your financial life, your health, your relationships, your peace of mind, the quality of your entire existence. All of it is shaped by the words you speak and the images you hold in your consciousness. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator. You were made in the image and likeness of God, which means you have been given the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence. And your word, when spoken with faith and authority, is your wand, the instrument through which invisible substance becomes visible form. So the first stage of what happens in heaven before you get paid is the decree. The moment you make your demand upon universal supply with clarity and faith, the moment you speak your word with authority, the moment you declare your divine right to prosper, to be free, to live in abundance, something shifts in the invisible realm. You are not begging. You are not pleading with a reluctant God. You are not trying to convince the universe that you are worthy. You are simply claiming what is already yours by divine right. This is why Jesus said, "Whatsoever you ask in prayer, believing you have received it. Not will receive, not might receive. Not should receive if you are good enough, or if you pray long enough, or if you suffer enough. Have received. Present perfect tense, already done, already complete, already yours." Because in the moment of true faith, in the instant that you make your demand with absolute certainty, the transaction is complete in the invisible realm. It is registered in cosmic law like a legal contract. It is written in the book of life with your name on it. It is set aside, prepared, assigned to you. And nothing in heaven or on earth can prevent it from manifesting, unless you yourself block it with your doubt, your fear, your worry, or your contradictory words. This is stage 1, the decree. You speak your word. You make your demand. You claim your good with faith and authority. And heaven responds instantly. Not eventually. Not someday. The invisible realm shifts in that very moment. The law is activated. The process begins. But then comes stage 2. And this is where most people lose their faith. Where most people give up. Where most people decide that the law does not work. That God has not heard them. That they were foolish to believe. Stage 2 is the arrangement. And I need you to understand this with absolute clarity, because this is where the real work happens. The invisible work, the divine orchestration that most people never see and therefore never trust. During stage 2, nothing seems to be you happening on the surface. You have made your decree. You have spoken your word. You have claimed your good. But days go by, weeks go by, sometimes months go by, and the bank account is still empty. The opportunity has not appeared. The door is still closed. The situation looks exactly the same as it did before you prayed. And your logical mind, your reasoning mind, your doubt-filled ego begins to whisper. See, it did not work. You were foolish to hope. You should have known better. Nothing ever changes for you. You are cursed. You are unlucky. You are not one of the chosen ones. But I assure you, I promise you, I declare to you with absolute certainty, everything is happening underneath. The universe is moving people into position. Infinite intelligence is arranging circumstances. Divine mind is dissolving obstacles that you do not even know exist. Doors are being opened that you have not yet approached. Resources are being released that have not yet reached you. And you, most importantly, you are being prepared to hold what you have asked for without losing it the moment it arrives. This is the stage that requires non-resistance. This is the stage that demands patience. This is the stage where you must stop checking, stop worrying, stop obsessing over the external, and simply trust that infinite intelligence is handling every single detail in ways that are infinitely better than anything your limited human mind could devise. Let me tell you what is happening in stage 2. The things that are invisible to you, but absolutely real and absolutely necessary. The universe is testing you, not to punish you, not because God is mean, but because the law must ensure that you are ready. If you panic at the first delay, if you lose faith the moment things do not go according to your plan, if you return to speaking words of lack, the second the appearance suggests lack, then you are not ready. You are not stable enough, not aligned enough, not conscious enough to hold this blessing that is being prepared for you. And so the universe keeps you in stage 2 a little longer, giving you opportunity after opportunity to choose faith over fear, to choose trust over control, to choose your word over appearances. Every morning you wake up and you have a choice. Will you speak your word with authority? Or will you speak your lack? Will you prepare for your blessing? Or will you wallow in your current circumstance? Will you trust divine timing? Or will you panic and try to force something to happen through your own limited effort? Each choice you make either speeds up the process or delays it. Each word you speak either clears the channel or blocks it. Each action you take either demonstrates your faith or reveals your doubt. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, in its perfect love, in its absolute commitment to your highest good, will not release the blessing until you are ready to receive it and keep it. But there is more happening in stage 2. The universe is also removing obstacles. It is protecting you from disaster. It is dissolving partnerships that would have betrayed you. It is closing doors that would have led you into traps. It is redirecting your path away, opportunities that looked good on the surface but would have destroyed you in the end. And you do not see any of this. All you see is delay. All you feel is frustration. All you think is that nothing is happening. But I am telling you everything is happening. Divine intelligence is working on your behalf with a precision and a wisdom that is beyond human comprehension. And if you could see what I see, if you could perceive the invisible, round the way have learned to perceive it through years of study and demonstration, you would fall to your knees in gratitude for the delays that you once cursed, because you would understand that those delays saved you from paths that would have destroyed you. And finally, in stage 2, the universe is aligning perfect timing. Not your timing, not the timing that your impatient ego demands. Perfect timing. Divine timing. The timing that ensures that when your good arrives, everything else in your life is also in position to support it, to sustain it, to multiply it. The timing that brings you the opportunity when you are most able to recognize it and act on it. The timing that delivers the money when you are most able to manage it wisely. The timing that sends the relationship when you are healed enough to receive it without destroying it through your old patterns. This is stage 2, the arrangement. And it lasts as long as it needs to last. Not one moment longer than necessary, but also not one moment shorter than required. And your job during stage 2 is not to figure out, not to control it, not to panic about it. Your job is to maintain your faith, to speak your word with authority every single day, to prepare for your blessing as if it is already on the way, and to trust that infinite intelligence knows what it is doing even when you cannot see the evidence. Then comes stage 3, the manifestation. When the invisible work is complete, when every channel is clear, when every obstacle has been removed, when you are finally aligned and ready, when perfect timing has arrived, then the good appears. And it often appears so suddenly, so unexpectedly, so completely out of nowhere that people call it a miracle. Friends marvel at your luck. Family members shake their heads in amazement. Strangers ask you how you did it. And you know with absolute certainty that it was not a miracle in the sense of something that defied natural law. It was the law. It was cause and effect. It was the natural, inevitable, guaranteed result of your spoken word, your unwavering faith, your willingness to prepare, and your surrender to divine timing. Understanding these 3 stages changes everything. It teaches you to stop panicking in stage 2. It teaches you to recognize where you are in the Bryce process. It teaches you to trust the invisible work that is happening on your behalf. It teaches you to cooperate with the law instead of fighting against it. And most importantly, it teaches you that every single moment of waiting is actually a moment of divine construction. The delay is not denial. The silence is not abandonment. The closed door is not rejection. It is all preparation. It is all protection. It is all part of the perfect unfolding of your highest good. Now, let me teach you another principle that most people violate constantly. A principle that keeps them trapped in lack no matter how much they pray or affirm or visualize. And that is the law of preparation. You must prepare the vessel before heaven pours the blessing. Here is a truth that will challenge everything you think you know. The universe will not give you what you cannot hold. Not because the universe is stingy, not because you are unworthy, but because it would be cruel. It would be destructive. It would be the opposite of love to give someone a blessing they are not prepared to receive. I have seen this play out countless times. I have seen people pray desperately for great sums of money, and when the money comes, When the inheritance arrives, or the lawsuit settles, or the business deal closes, they lose it within weeks, sometimes within days, because they were not prepared to manage it. They did not have the consciousness to hold wealth. They did not have the discipline to steward resources. They did not have the spiritual maturity to handle abundance without it destroying them. I have seen people beg for opportunities, for the big break, for the chance to prove themselves. And when the opportunity arrives, when the door finally opens, when the invitation is extended, they sabotage it. They show up late. They do mediocre work. They doubt themselves into paralysis. They let fear convince them they are not ready, and the opportunity passes them by, and they spend years afterwards lamenting that they were never given a chance, never recognizing that the chance came and they were not prepared to seize it. I have seen people cry out for relationships, for their soulmate, for true love, for someone who will finally understand them and cherish them. And when that person appears, when the universe delivers exactly what they ask for, they ruin it within months. They bring all their old wounds, all their unhealed trauma, all their patterns of jealousy and control and self-sabotage into the relationship, and they drive away the very blessing they begged for. This is why preparation is not optional. This is why you cannot simply sit on your couch, making affirmations, and expect the universe to drop abundance into your lap. Preparation is spiritual law. Preparation is your signal to heaven that you are ready. Preparation is your demonstration of faith made visible through action. What does preparation look like? Let me give you practical examples, real things you can do today to activate this law in your life. If you are calling in money, preparation looks like opening a bank account. If you have nothing to put in it, it looks like organizing your financial records. It looks like creating a budget for the abundance you are claiming. It looks like acting as if you are already a person who manages wealth wisely. It looks like researching investments. It looks like reading books on financial literacy. It looks like dressing as someone prosperous would dress, carrying yourself with the dignity of someone who knows their worth. If you are calling in a relationship, preparation looks like setting your table for two. It looks like making space in your closet for another person's belongings. It looks like buying extra pillows for your bed. It looks like healing your old wounds through therapy or inner work, so that when the relationship arrives, you are capable of sustaining it. It looks like becoming the kind of person who could be a loving, supportive, emotionally healthy partner. It looks like working on your communication skills, your ability to be vulnerable, your capacity to trust and to be trusted. If you are calling in a new home, preparation looks like packing. It looks like getting rid of things you do not want to take with you. It looks like researching neighborhoods. It looks like driving by houses and allowing yourself to feel what it would be like to live there. It looks like acting as if the move is inevitable. It looks like measuring your furniture to see what will fit in the new space. It looks like collecting paint samples and envisioning how you will decorate. It looks like treating your current space with the same care and respect you would give to your dream home. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. If you are calling in a business, preparation looks like designing your logo, setting up your website, creating your offerings, practicing your pitch, doing the work as if the clients are already on their way. It looks like registering your business name. It looks like opening a business bank account. It looks like creating systems and processes. It looks like studying successful people in your industry. It looks like investing in your education and your skills. It looks like showing up every single day as the CEO of your life, even before you have made your first sale. Do you see what I am teaching you? Preparation is not about pretending. It is not about denial. It is not about ignoring your current reality. It is about demonstrating through your actions that you believe your word, that you trust the invisible process, that you know your good is on the way and you're getting ready to receive it. This is how you impress the subconscious mind. This is how you signal the universe. This is how you align your entire being, your thoughts and your words and your actions with the consciousness of receiving. Because the subconscious mind does not respond to words alone. It responds to images. It responds to feelings. It responds to actions that match the desired outcome. And when you prepare, when you act as if your blessing is imminent, you create such a powerful vibration of expectancy that the universe has no choice but to deliver. But here is where most people fail. Here is where fear sabotages them. They start to prepare and immediately the voice of doubt begins to speak. You are being foolish. You do not have the money. This will never work. People will think you are crazy. You're going to look like an idiot when nothing happens. You are wasting your time. This is just positive thinking nonsense. You need to be realistic. You need to face facts. And if you listen to that voice, if you let that fear stop you, if you refuse to prepare because you cannot yet see that evidence, then you block your good. You tell the universe that you do not really believe. You demonstrate through your inaction that your faith is not strong enough to support the blessing. And so the blessing is withheld not as punishment, but as protection, because giving it to you in that state of consciousness would only result in you losing it. So when fear whispers you are being foolish, you speak back with authority. I am not moved by appearances. I am moved by truth. My good is already mine in the invisible realm, and I am simply preparing to receive it. I act on faith, not on evidence. I demonstrate my belief through my actions, and I trust that the universe is responding to my consciousness. This is how you overcome the resistance. This is how you push through the fear. This is how you prepare for your blessing, even when every circumstance suggests that it is impossible. Now, let me teach you about the law of non-resistance, because this is perhaps the most difficult principle for the human mind to grasp. And yet, it is absolutely essential if you want to experience rapid, miraculous, effortless manifestation. Most people do not fail because they lack faith. They fail because they resist the process. They resist the timing. They resist the channels. They resist the divine plan. And every single moment of resistance is a moment of delay, a moment of blockage, a moment where they push their good further away. Let me be very clear about what resistance is, because there is often confusion about this. Resistance is not the same as action. You can take action without resistance. You can move forward without fear. You can prepare without anxiety. But the moment you add force, control, manipulation, or fee to your action, that is when you cross the line into resistance. That is when you start working against the universe instead of with it. Resistance looks like trying to force a deal that is not meant to be. It looks like chasing after someone who is not interested. It looks like pushing yourself through exhaustion because you do not trust that rest is productive. It looks like micromanaging every detail because you do not believe that infinite intelligence can handle it better than you. It looks like panicking when things do not go according to your plan and scrambling to fix it with your limited human effort. I have watched people lose fortunes because they tried to force a business partnership that was not divinely aligned. The red flags were there. The intuitive warnings were there. But they were so attached to their plan, so convinced that this was the only way, so afraid that another opportunity would not come that they forced it anyway. And it ended in disaster. I have watched people ruin relationships because they tried to control another person's free will, because they could not trust that if it was meant to be, it would unfold naturally, because they manipulated and pushed and demanded instead of allowing and trusting and surrendering. I have watched people sabotage their health because they resisted their body's wisdom. They pushed through illness instead of resting. They ignored pain instead of listening to it. They exhausted themselves in the name of productivity and ambition. And they paid the price with serious health consequences that could have been avoided if they had simply surrendered, if they had simply trusted that taking care of their body was more important than forcing outcomes through sheer willpower. The universe has a plan for you that is infinite better than anything you could design with your limited human mind. But you must get out of the way. You must stop insisting on how and when and through whom your good will come. You must stop gripping that you strangle the very thing you are trying to hold. You must speak your word, take your action, prepare your vessel, and then release it with the faith that infinite intelligence is handling every single detail in ways that will astonish you with their perfection. This is the paradox at the heart of manifestation, the truth that confuses so many people. You must care deeply enough to prepare, but be detached enough to let go. You must desire your good with all your heart, but trust the universe enough to say, "Not my will, but thine be done." You must know what you want. Speak it boldly and clearly, claim it with authority, and then relax into divine timing, trusting that it is coming in the perfect way at the perfect moment. When you master non-resistance, when you stop fighting the universe and start flowing with it, when you learn to move through life with the flexibility of water instead of the rigidity of stone, that is when miracles happen. That is when doors open that were visible moments before. That is when opportunities appear from nowhere. That is when money shows up from the most unexpected sources. That is when your good arrives in ways so perfect, so precisely timed, so beautifully orchestrated that you will weep with gratitude at the wisdom of God. Let me give you a practical example of what non-resistance looks like in action. I knew a woman who desperately wanted to move to a new city. She had clear, compelling reasons: better job opportunities, a healthier climate, proximity to family. She prayed about it. She affirmed it. She visualized herself living there. But then she made the mistake that so many people make. She tried to force it. She applied to hundreds of jobs in that city, sending out resume after resume with a desperate energy. She looked at apartments online obsessively, calculating costs, making plans, trying to make it work financially before she even had a job offer. Months went by. Nothing materialized. Every job application was rejected or ignored. She could not find affordable housing. Every pathway she tried hit a dead end. And she came to me in complete frustration, convinced that the universe was blocking her, that it was not meant to be, that she should just give up on her dream. I asked her one simple question: "Are you trying to force this, or are you allowing it?" She looked at me confused, defensive. "Of course, I am trying to make it happen," she said. "How else is it supposed to happen if I do not do something?" And I said there is a difference between inspired action and forced action. Inspired action flows. It feels light. It feels guided. It opens doors effortlessly. Forced action feels heavy. It feels exhausting. It meets resistance at every turn. And the universe is telling you through all these closed doors that you are pushing too hard. I gave her new instructions. I told her to stop applying to jobs for 1 month. I told her to stop looking at apartments. I told her to release the entire situation to infinite intelligence with this affirmation. If this move is part of my divine plan, the universe will open the way in perfect, through channels I cannot yet see. I stop forcing. I stop controlling. I trust. I relax. I allow. She resisted my instructions at first. It felt like giving up. It felt like being passive. It felt irresponsible. But I assured her that surrender is not passivity. Surrender is the highest form of trust. Surrender is stepping aside and letting God handle what only God can handle. She finally agreed. For 1 month, she did not apply to a single job in that city. She did not look at apartments. She did not try to figure out the how. She simply repeated her affirmation. She went about her current life with presence and peace. And she trusted. And here is what happened. Here is how the universe moved when she finally stopped blocking it with her force and her fear. 3 weeks into that month of surrender, she received a phone call completely out of the blue from a company in that city. They had found her old resume from months prior. They had a position that had just opened up. They wanted to interview her immediately. The interview went perfectly. They offered her the job within days, with a salary higher than she had been asking for. And when she mentioned that she would need time to find housing, they offered her a temporary corporate apartment for the first 2 months while she settled in. Everything she had been trying to force for months materialized effortlessly. In less than a month, once she got out of the way. This is the power of non-resistance. This is what happens when you stop fighting and start flowing. This is the miracle that occurs when you finally understand that your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to let it happen. Now, let me teach you how the universe communicates with you. Because one of the greatest sources of suffering in people's lives is the belief that God is silent, that the universe is not responding, that their prayers are going unheard. But I am here to tell you that heaven is not silent. God is not absent. Your answer is not missing. You have simply not been trained to recognize the language of the invisible realm. The universe speaks to you in 3 primary ways: through intuition, through symbols, and through opportunities. And if you learn to recognize these 3 languages, if you become fluent in reading the signs, you will never again feel lost or alone or abandoned by the divine. First, intuition. Intuition is God's direct telephone line to you. It is the still small voice that speaks in your moments of quiet. It is the sudden knowing that arrives without explanation. It is the hunch that makes no logical sense, but feels undeniably right. It is the feeling in your body that says yes to this and no to that, even when your mind cannot articulate why. I cannot tell you how many. I've worked with people who are in distress, who are crying out that God has not answered their prayers. And when I ask them if they have had any intuitive leads, they always say yes. Well, I did have a thought to call this person, but it seemed too random. I did feel drawn to that job posting, but I did not think I was qualified. I did have an urge to go to that event, but I was too tired. I did sense that I should wait before making that decision, but I was impatient. Do you see what is happening? The answer came. The guidance was given. The divine instruction was delivered clearly and directly through intuition. But they did not obey. They dismissed it as coincidence, as their imagination, as wishful thinking, or they heard it clearly, but let fear or doubt or impatience override it. And so the blessing that was waiting for them at the end of that intuitive lead never materialized. Not because God withheld it, but because they refused to follow the guidance. Intuition is not loud. It does not shout. It does not argue with you. It speaks once, maybe twice, and then it respects your free will. If you ignore it, if you choose logic over intuition, if you choose fear over trust, the universe will not force you. It will simply allow you to learn through the harder path of experience. So I am teaching you trust your intuition more than your fear. Follow your hunches more than your logic. When you have a sudden impulse to reach out to someone, do it. When you feel drawn to a certain opportunity, investigate it. When you sense that you should wait. When you know in your gut that something is not right, even if everyone else is telling you it is perfect, trust that inner knowing. Your intuition is never wrong. Your interpretation of it might be wrong. Your timing and following it might be off. But the intuition itself, the pure guidance from your superconscious mind, from the God within, is always accurate, always loving, always leading you toward your highest good. The second language the universe speaks is symbols. A chance meeting. A book that falls off the shelf. A song that plays at the exact moment you needed to hear those words. A license plate that contains a message. A conversation overheard in a coffee shop that answers the question you were just asking in your mind. An animal that crosses your path at a significant moment. A dream that contains clear guidance. A number sequence that keeps appearing. A name that you hear repeatedly in different contexts. These are not coincidences. These are divine appointments, orchestrated by infinite intelligence, to guide you to confirm that you are on the right path, to answer your questions, to give you courage, to show you that you are not alone. I will tell you a story that illustrates this perfectly. A man was facing a major business decision. He had been offered a partnership that looked good on paper, but something in his gut told him to be cautious. He prayed for guidance. He asked the universe for a clear sign about whether he should move forward or wait. That very day, as he was driving to meet with the potential partner, he passed 3 different businesses that had closed signs in the window. 3 in a row on a route he had never driven before, because his usual route was blocked by construction. Now, most people would dismiss this as random. But this man had been trained to recognize symbols. He understood that the universe speaks through metaphor, through synchronicity, through seemingly random events that are actually precisely orchestrated. He took those 3 closed signs as a clear message. This partnership would lead to closure, to ending, to loss. He politely declined the offer. 6 months later, he discovered that the person who had approached him was involved in illegal activity and was facing criminal charges. If he had entered that partnership, his entire business and reputation would have been destroyed. The universe protected him through symbols. The guidance was there. The warning was clear. He simply had to be awake enough to recognize it and wise enough to trust it. So I am teaching you, pay attention. Notice the patterns. Watch for repetition. When you see the same message multiple times in different forms, that is not coincidence. When you have been asking a question and suddenly the answer appears in a conversation, a book, a movie, a stranger's words, that is divine communication. The universe is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? The third language is opportunities. But here is the crucial point that most people miss. The opportunity rarely looks the way you expect. It does not arrive in a golden envelope with your name engraved on it. It does not come with a guarantee of success or a promise of safety. It comes disguised as risk, as change, as discomfort, as hard work, as the very thing you have been avoiding. The door that opens is often not the door you are watching. The person who offers help is often not someone in your existing network. The pathway forward often requires you to let go of something you have been clinging to. And the people who succeed, the people who actually walk through doors that heaven opens, are the ones who recognize the opportunity, even when it is dressed in unfamiliar clothes. I knew a woman who was desperate for financial breakthrough. She prayed, she affirmed, she visualized, she did everything right from a spiritual perspective. And then one day, she was offered a job that required her to move to a different state, to leave her comfort zone, to step into a role she had never done before. Her first reaction was fear. "This is not what I asked for," she said. "I wanted to stay where I am and have more money come in. I did not ask to have to move." But I reminded her of a fundamental truth. When you ask the universe for abundance, you do not get to dictate the channels. You do not get to tell infinite intelligence how to deliver your good. You simply ask, you prepare, you trust, and when the door opens, you walk through it with faith, even if it is not the door you expected. She took the job. She moved. It was uncomfortable. It was scary. She had to rebuild her social circle, adjust to a new city, and learn new skills. But within 1 year, her income had tripled. Within 2 years, she had been promoted twice. Within 3 years, she owned her own home and had a level of financial security she had never experienced in her life. The opportunity was there all along. It was the answer to her prayer. But it required her to be flexible, to trust, to say yes even when it felt frightening, to recognize that sometimes the universe delivers your blessing in a package you were not expecting. So I am teaching you, when opportunity knocks, do not analyze it to death. Do not wait until you feel completely ready. Do not demand that it look exactly like what you pictured. Ask yourself, does this feel aligned? Does this excite me, even though it scares me? Does this require me to grow and trust and step into a bigger version of myself? If the answer is yes, then it is probably your divine appointment. Walk through that door with faith. Now, we must talk about appearances, because this is the trap that catches most people. The illusion that keeps them locked in lack and limitation and suffering. I have said this before, and I will say it until my last breath. Appearances are not reality. The empty bank account is not reality. The closed door is not reality. The silent phone is not reality. The rejection letter is not reality. The illness is not reality. The loneliness is not reality. These are appearances, temporary conditions, surface manifestations that have no power, except the power you give them through your belief, your fear, your words, your attention. In the invisible realm, in the fourth dimension, in the consciousness of God, in the realm of truth, where all things are possible, there is only perfection. There is only abundance. There is only health. There is only love. There is only opportunity. And that is the only reality. Everything else is illusion, temporary, changeable, subject to your word and your consciousness. But the human mind, untrained in spiritual law, looks at appearances and calls them truth. It sees the empty bank account and says, I am poor. It sees the closed door and says, there is no opportunity for me. It sees the illness and says, I am sick. It sees the loneliness and says, I am unloved. And in that moment of calling the appearance reality, in that moment of agreeing with the illusion, the person locks it in place. They give it power. They feed it with their fear and their attention. And it grows stronger and more persistent. The universe is asking you one question, every single moment of every single day. Will you believe what you see, or will you believe what I have spoken? Will you trust your physical senses, or will you trust spiritual law? Will you panic at the appearance of lack, or will you stand firm in the knowledge that your supply has already been prepared in the invisible and is on its way? This is the test. This is the initiation. This is where faith is proven and demonstrated. Not when everything is going well. Not when the bank account is full and the doors are open and life is easy. Anyone can have faith. Then true faith, the faith that moves mountains. The faith that transforms lives. The faith that manifests miracles is proven in the face of adverse appearances. Every appearance of lack is an opportunity to demonstrate your understanding of spiritual law, not to God. Because God does not need proof to yourself. To your subconscious mind that has been programmed for generations with fear and doubt and limitation. Every time you face an empty circumstance and you choose faith over fear, every time you speak your word of abundance in the face of poverty, every time you act as if your good is on the way, even when you see no evidence, you are reprogramming your consciousness. You are breaking the old patterns. You are dissolving the old thought forms. You are opening the channel wider and wider. And here is the promise. Here is the spiritual law that never fails. The moment you stop reacting to appearances, the moment you stop giving power to the external, the moment you fully surrender to the truth that infinite intelligence is your source and nothing else, that is the moment everything changes. Not because you earned it. Not because you were finally good enough, or deserving enough, or spiritual enough, but because you aligned with the law. You removed the blockage. You stopped contradicting your own word with your fear. And the universe, which has been trying to give your good all along, finally has a clear channel to deliver it. Let me tell you what this looks like in practical terms. You wake up one morning and check your bank account. It is overdrawn. There is a bill due today that you cannot pay. Every physical circumstance screams lack, poverty, failure. This is the moment of truth. This is where most people panic. Where they spiral into fear, where they start speaking words of defeat. Where they call everyone they know in desperation, trying to manipulate some solution. But you trained in spiritual law. You who understand the invisible process. You who know that appearances are not reality. You respond differently. You look at that overdrawn account and you speak with authority. This is not my reality. My reality is that infinite intelligence is my source, and my supply is unlimited. Money is flowing to me now from expected and unexpected sources. I am provided for. I am protected. I am prospered. I speak this word, and I know that it is already done in the invisible, and I give thanks for its manifestation. Then you close your computer. You go about your day. You do not obsess over the account. You do not check it every 5 minutes. You do not spiral into catastrophic thinking. You maintain your peace. You maintain your faith. You speak your word whenever fear tries to rise up. And you trust. And here is what happens. Here is how the universe responds to that level of faith. Within hours, sometimes within minutes, an unexpected solution appears. A check comes in the mail. A client pays early. A refund you forgot about is deposited. A friend offers help. An opportunity to earn extra money materializes. The universe moves heaven and earth to match your consciousness. To prove the law, to demonstrate that your faith was not in vain. This is not magic. This is not luck. This is spiritual law, as reliable as gravity, working exactly as it is designed to work. So let me now give you the practical steps, the specific actions you can take starting today to align with this invisible process and allow your good to manifest with speed and ease. Practice number 1. Speak your word with authority every single morning before you do anything else. The first words you speak, the first thoughts you think, the first images you hold in your consciousness set the tone for your entire day. Most people reach for their phone immediately upon waking. They check their email, their bank account, their social media, their news feed, and within minutes they have plunged into fear, comparison, lack, worry, and limitation. You are going to do something radically different. Before you speak to anyone, before you check anything, before you engage with the external world in any way, you are going to speak your word. Stand before your mirror, if it helps you embody the authority. Look yourself in the eyes and declare with absolute faith, with unwavering certainty, with the full force of spiritual law behind your voice. Infinite intelligence is my supply. My good is already prepared in the invisible and is now manifesting in perfect ways. I am a child of the King, and everything I need flows to me now. I speak this word with the authority of one who knows the law, and I give thanks that it is already done. Do not beg. Do not plead. Do not hope. Declare, command, speak with the full weight of divine authority. Know that your word is law in your world. Know that what you speak with faith must manifest. And then go about your day as if it is already done. Because in the invisible realm, it is. Practice number 2. Prepare for your blessing before it arrives. Take one concrete action today, no matter how small, that demonstrates your faith that your good is on the way. If you are calling in money, open a savings account. If you are calling in a relationship, set your table for 2. If you are calling in a new home, start packing what you no longer need. If you are calling in a business, design your business card. If you are calling in perfect health, buy the outfit you will wear when you are healed. Do something tangible, something visible, something that would make absolutely no logical sense, unless you truly believed with all your heart that your blessing was inevitable. This is how you impress the subconscious mind. This is how you signal the universe. This is how you align your actions with your faith. And when fear whispers, when doubt tries to stop you, when the voice says, "You are being foolish. You do not have the money. This will never work. The people will think you are crazy," you speak back with authority. I am not moved by appearances. I am moved by truth. My good is already mine in the invisible, and I am simply preparing to receive it. I act on faith, not on evidence. I demonstrate my belief through my actions, and I trust that the universe is responding to my consciousness right now. Practice number 3. Stop speaking words of lack. For the next 7 days, commit to absolute discipline over your speech. This is not optional. This is not a suggestion. This is a non-negotiable spiritual practice that will transform your life if you commit to it completely. Do not say I am broke. Do not say I cannot afford it. Do not say money is tight. Do not say I never have enough. Do not say times are hard. Do not say I am always struggling. Do not speak one single word that contradicts the abundance you are claiming. These words are not harmless. These words are not simply descriptions of your current situation. These words are commands. These words are prayers. These words are creative forces. And every single time you speak them, you are sending an order to the universe that says, "Give me more of this. Manifest more lack in my life. Confirm this limitation." The law does not argue with you. The law does not say, "But you did not really mean that." The law simply obeys. Your word is your command, and the universe arranges circumstances to match exactly what you have spoken. So for 7 days, catch yourself. Every time you are about to speak lack, pause, take a breath, and speak truth instead. My supply comes from God. I am always provided for. Money flows to me easily and abundantly. I live in a universe of infinite supply. I am rich in consciousness, and my outer world is now reflecting that inner wealth. Even if it feels like a lie, even if your bank account contradicts it, even if every circumstance suggests otherwise, speak it anyway. Because in the invisible realm, where all things are created before they manifest, it is already true. You are simply calling it forth from the realm of possibility into the realm of reality. Practice number 4. Release control and trust divine timing. This might be the hardest practice for most of you, because the ego fights, surrender with everything it has. The logical mind wants to know how, and when and through whom. It wants to manage every detail. It wants guarantees. It wants to see the entire staircase before it takes the first step. But spiritual law requires you to move in faith, to trust the invisible, to surrender the how and the when to infinite intelligence. So take out a piece of paper right now. Write down every situation in your life where you are trying to force control or manipulate an outcome. Your job, your relationship, your health, your finances, your family, every single area where you are gripping with white knuckles. Convinced that if you let go for even one moment, everything will fall apart. Now, one by one, release them. Not with resignation, not with defeat, not with the energy of giving up, but with faith, with trust, with the absolute knowing that the universe has a plan that is infinitely better than anything you could devise. Say out loud for each situation, I release this to infinite intelligence. I trust that the divine plan is unfolding in perfect ways. I stop interfering with my fear, doubt, and my need to control. I relax. I let go. I allow God to handle what only God can handle. You will feel resistance. Your whole body might tense up. Your mind will scream that this is dangerous, that you need to stay in control, that bad things will happen if you stop managing every detail. But that is just fear. That is just the ego's last desperate attempt to maintain its illusion of power. Breathe through it. Speak your word of release again. And every single time that fear rises up throughout the day, every time you catch yourself trying to take control back, return to this practice. Speak your release, trust, surrender, and watch how the universe responds when you finally get out of the way. Practice number 5. Recognize and honor the signs that your good is near. Begin to pay attention to really pay attention to the invisible signs that your answer is on the way. A sudden feeling of peace where there was once anxiety. An unexpected opportunity that seems too small or too strange to be significant. A person who appears in your life with exactly the information or connection you needed. A delay that later reveals itself to have protected you from disaster. A dream that contains clear guidance. A song that plays with lyrics that speak directly to your situation. A book that falls into your hands at the perfect moment. Keep a journal of these moments. Write them down with gratitude. Because when you begin to recognize the language of the invisible, when you begin to see how perfectly orchestrated your life actually is, when you start noticing the divine appointments and the miraculous timing and the unexpected channels, your faith will grow exponentially. Your trust will deepen. Your peace will become unshakable. And you will stop panicking every time there is a delay or a detour or a closed door, because you will understand with absolute certainty that the delay is not denial. The detour is not punishment. The closed door is not rejection. It is all divine navigation. It is all protection. It is all part of the perfect unfolding of your highest good. So let me bring this home for you now. Let me give you the one truth, the ultimate truth, the foundational truth that you need to carry with you as you walk away from this teaching and back into your life. Your good has already been prepared. It is not lost. It is not delayed. It is not denied. It is not dependent on your worthiness or your perfection or your ability to finally get it right. It is waiting for you in the invisible realm, fully formed, perfectly timed, beautifully orchestrated, ready to manifest the very moment you align your consciousness with receiving it. You have been taught to worry. You have been programmed to doubt. You have been conditioned to beg, to manipulate, to force, to control your way through life. But that is not how this universe works. The universe responds to faith made visible. The universe responds to words spoken with authority. The universe responds to preparation, to trust, to surrender, to the courageous willingness to let go and let God handle what only God can handle. So today, right now, in this very moment, you make a choice. You choose to stop blocking your good with your fear. You choose to stop sabotaging your blessings with your words of lack. You choose to act as if your supply is already on the way. Because in the invisible realm, in the mind of God, in the fourth dimension where all things are possible, it is here is your new truth. This is the declaration you will speak every single morning. This is the word you will live by. This is the consciousness you will embody. Speak this with me now. Say it out loud if you can. Let your voice carry the vibration of absolute faith. I am a child of the King. My supply comes from God alone. And God's supply is infinite, unlimited, and always available. I do not beg. I do not worry. I do not wait in fear. I speak my word with authority. I prepare for my blessing with joy. I trust divine timing with peace. My good is already prepared in heaven, and it is manifesting in my life right now, in perfect ways. I see clearly with spiritual vision. I hear clearly with spiritual hearing. I move boldly with spiritual courage, and I receive abundantly with spiritual gratitude. This is my truth. This is my reality. This is the law of my life. And so it is. Say that every morning when you wake. Write it on your mirror so you see it throughout the day. Carry it in your heart as you move through your life. Let it become the very foundation of your consciousness. And watch. Just watch how your entire world transforms when you finally understand what happens in heaven before you get paid. Now, if this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside as you listened, if you recognized yourself in these teachings, if you are ready to finally step into the abundant life that has always been your divine right, then I want you to do something for me. I want you to leave a comment below and tell me what is one action you are going to take today to prepare for your blessing. What is one word of lack you are going to stop speaking? What is one situation you are going to release and trust to divine timing? Share your commitment in the comments. Because when you speak it out loud, when you declare it publicly, when you make it known to the universe and to yourself, you are activating the law. You are sending a signal. You are demonstrating that you are serious about this transformation. And I promise you, the universe will respond. And if you want more teachings like this, if you are hungry for deeper understanding of spiritual law, if you want to continue learning how to speak with authority and live as the powerful creator you were designed to be, then subscribe to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a teaching. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is struggling financially. Someone who has been praying for breakthrough. Someone who needs to understand that their good is already prepared and they simply need to align with it. Because this wisdom is not meant to be hoarded. This truth is not meant to be kept secret. This understanding is meant to be shared, to be lived, to be demonstrated in every area of your life. You are not a victim. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of circumstances or economies or other people's decisions. You are a creator made in the image and likeness of God. You have been given dominion over your world. You have been given the power of the spoken word. You have been given access to infinite supply. You have been given everything you need to live a calm life of abundance, joy, freedom, and peace. Now go and live like it. Speak your word. Prepare your vessel, trust the process, release your grip on how and when. Recognize the signs. Honor the divine appointments and receive your good with the gratitude and grace of one who finally understands that heaven has been working on their behalf all along. The transaction was complete in the invisible. The moment you asked with faith. Now you simply walk forward in the knowing that what is yours cannot be kept from you. That your supply precedes you. That your good is rushing toward you even now. And that nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand between you and the abundant life that was designed for you before you were born. This is your truth. This is your reality. This is your divine inheritance. Claim it, live it, demonstrate it, and watch as heaven and earth move to confirm the word you have spoken with faith. There's a psalm that opens the gates of money faster than any bank on earth. For 7 days, if you speak it as I will show you, divine supply will move swiftly, silently, without struggle straight into your hands. I've seen it work for those with nothing but faith. And I've watched money appear from directions they never imagined. You see, this isn't about religion. It's about spiritual law. And for the next 7 days, that law will work for you. Tone, calm, magnetic, filled with quiet authority. Slight pause after bank on earth to let curiosity land. In this lesson, I will teach you how to use one single psalm. The psalm of provision to call money into form by divine law. You will learn to speak the word that multiplies supply, dissolves debt, and restores circulation to every area of your life. You'll see why most prayers for money fail, and how 7 days of right speech can reverse years of limitation. You won't be repeating words in vain. You'll be commanding the substance of spirit to flow. By the end of this video, you will know how to speak in harmony with God's own law of prosperity. And once you do, you will never speak in lack again. I know the feeling of waiting for money that never seems to come, watching bills pile up, praying for relief, wondering if heaven has gone silent. But heaven never ignores faith. It only waits for the right vibration. Most people beg for supply, yet their words carry fear, not power. The psalm I'm about to give you corrects that vibration. It trains your words to speak with divine certainty. When spoken daily for 7 days, it clears the channel between you and your good. This is not superstition. It's spiritual science. The same invisible law that brings the tides, that makes seeds grow, that orders the stars, also orders your prosperity. And that law will respond to your voice when you speak this song. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the psalm that releases divine supply faster than anything I've ever witnessed. You will learn how to speak it not as repetition, but as command. We will explore its hidden pattern, its rhythm, and the 7-day cycle that activates its power. You will hear the testimony of those who used it, men and women who had nothing but their word and faith, and who found their good arriving overnight. We will talk about the spiritual law that governs this psalm, the law of circulation, the law of gratitude, and the law of divine preparation. By the end of this teaching, you will not only know the words, you will feel the vibration of wealth moving toward you.